posture of gratitude, looking back for the ways in which that statement has been true for us and how it will continue to be true for us. How God has led us to this moment, and he didn't just drop us off here, but he continues to walk with us. So Lord, in the space that we come to lay it all at your feet, all the worry and the anxiety, and we place our life in your hands, and we sing these words knowing that they are true and that you are the one that our hearts adore, God, because of what it is that you've done and you'll continue to do. So we sing this together. All things have passed away, and your love has stayed the same, and your constant grace remains the cornerstone. We sing of your faithfulness and things that we thought were dead are breathing in life again, and you cause your sun to shine on darkest nights. So for all that you've done, we will pour out our love. This will be our anthem song. And Jesus, we love you, and oh how we love you, and you are the one our hearts adore. We sing it in faith. The hopeless have found their hope. The orphans now have a home. All that was lost has found its place in you. And you lift up hands, and you make 'Cause Jesus, we love you. And oh, how we love you. And you are the one our hearts adore. Yes, you are. So Jesus, we love you. And oh, how we love you. And you are the one our hearts adore. Would you remain in a posture of gratitude as we hear the scripture reading from Bethany this morning?
Today's scripture reading comes from John 14, 8 through 12. Philip said, "Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us." Jesus answered, "Don't you know me, Philip, even after I have been among you such a long time? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show me the Father'? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and that the Father is in me? The words I say to you are not just my own. Rather, it is the Father living in me who is doing his work. Believe me when I say that I am in the Father and that the Father is in me, or at least believe on the evidence of the miracles themselves. I tell you the truth. Anyone who has faith in me will do what I have been doing. He will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father." The word of the Lord.
You may be seated.
I'm Rachel, or more commonly known as Fong to my soccer team. I've had the absolute pleasure of playing for Kristi for the last 4 years. And as I was coming in as a freshman, Kristi was actually coming in for her first season here at Point Loma. And what makes Kristi a great coach is not only her ability to coach soccer strategy, but truly the depth of her character and the strength of her convictions and the trust that she places in God. She leads us with courage, humor, and intelligence, and she's the type of person who deeply cares for every single person who gets to be in her life. She can see the greatest potential in somebody and then help them realize it. I've personally witnessed her incredible impact on our team and in my own life, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for her and cannot wait to hear what she has to say. So, Kristi, I welcome you up.
Dan, am I on? Oh, great, thank you. Well, thank you, Fong. I don't know that I've ever heard humor described with me, but I appreciate that. We'll try to live into that today. And thank you, Rachel, and the worship team, and B for getting us to this place. Whew! I once got to interview Abby Wambach in front of a large crowd of people, but that was easier because I got to keep it about her. You are all intimidating, but here we go. It's like game day for me. I need like a good first touch on the ball, and then I'll be in rhythm. So yes, I needed a good chuckle, and then I'll be in rhythm. So it's good to be with you all today. It has been quite the week. We'll start with the comeback of Kansas in the national championship football game for you, or basketball game, from a 15-point deficit early in the week to win it. Stressful if you're a Kansas fan. Registration for classes for you all. Stressful. Registration for housing on a residential campus, very stressful. So as we gather here this morning, I pray that you can pause the stress, pause the worry, and just be. A big welcome to our Preview Day families, much peace and excitement to you as you figure out what's next in your journey. I'll tell you, I think everyone should have to write a chapel talk. In part so you can have appreciation for the people that stand up here. Fong, McKenna, Courtney Dyer, this one's for you. But also because it's amazing where it takes you in your own faith journey. It's quite the project to consider what you'd say to people for a short time about decades of faith journeying. The truth is, I've wrestled with God a lot, on my own behalf and on behalf of others. And just this week, I was wrestling a lot on behalf of another. And I was mad, and I didn't understand. And as I wrestle, I keep coming back to a few things, and that's what I want to share with you today, those few things. But first, who in the world am I? I'm the women's soccer coach here at Point Loma, as has been stated. Our department lives down there, and we'd love to have you visit us. Have you all been to a baseball game yet this season? Thank you. One. We are the number 3 team in the country right now. So get out there. Yeah. Our women's tennis team is 15-6. All of our spring sports right now are killing it, and we are so proud of our student athletes and the work that they put in. I have an amazing husband of 15 and a half years, 2 wonderful children that I adore, a family that has shaped me, a wonderful community of friends and colleagues, and many years of life experience. I've been coaching here for 4 years. I absolutely love my team and the power of sport. As I've reflected on my faith journey in preparation for today, there's one word I keep coming back to that has shaped a lot of my journey, and it is ordinary. You might have wanted something more exciting. No, buckle up for a very ordinary talk on ordinariness. Well, after my first story, perhaps, which happens to be the only miracle I've ever witnessed. After my junior year of college, I was accepted into a study abroad program in Ireland, the North and the South. As a communication studies major, I love you all. You are my people out there. We were in Ireland studying reconciliation and conflict resolution. I was with 20 students and 2 professors, one professor who happened to also be my coach, important later in the story. It was our second night in Belfast, and we were watching a soccer game in the lobby of the hotel. 5 or 6 guys, likely in their 30s, walked in to watch. My professor, also my coach, as stated before, began a conversation with them. I don't remember the details of the conversation. I just remember the moment they began to talk about soccer. The conversation went so well that the guys asked if any of us could play and if any of us wanted to play in a pickup game later that evening. The part of the conversation I remember well because it's the moment Coach pointed to me and said, "She will." I was stunned, as were the men. But while I was immediately intimidated and very intrigued, I doubt the men were. Soccer had constantly led me to new experiences and cultures and shaped and formed so much of how I saw the world, and this was another step in that journey. So I made some of the bigger guys in our group who were on the trip accompany me to the field with guys that I didn't know. The guys picked us up from our hotel and drove us to a different part of town. Thanks to my studies and my years of work as an athlete, I knew at least a little about what I was stepping into. Pickup soccer is pickup soccer, right? But the larger context is that there had been a conflict between Protestants and Catholics, the British in Ireland and the Irish, since the 12th century. The divide between the two had little to do with theology and much more to do with culture and politics. The most recent iteration, known as the Troubles, was a 30-year period that was particularly and frequently violent. Most of the victims of the violence during this time were young men from Belfast. The Troubles ended just 6 years before my visit, and I was going to play pickup soccer with the men who, statistically, 6 years prior, would have likely been in the demographic to inflict or be the victim of violence. I distinctly remember the sinking feeling I got when I realized we had met these wonderful Catholic men with Catholic-sounding names, and we were now in a Protestant neighborhood. I called one of the guys by the Catholic name he introduced himself to me as, and everyone stopped, turned around, looked at me, and said, "You can't call me that here." This made me so curious. I stepped out on the field, first female most of them had probably ever even been on a field with, knowing that they were intrigued but likely had very, very low expectations of my athletic ability. The game was going just fine. I was holding my own, but certainly nothing to write home about, ordinary, if you will. And that ordinary performance led them to leave me unmarked on a corner kick. We took corners in pickup. It's kind of strange, but we did over there. And then this miracle happens. The ball comes in out of the air, and I wind up, and I hit a side volley into the upper corner. For those of you that don't play the game, that's actually a very, very difficult thing to do. The game stopped. Did I get a little applause? Thank you. Much love. Because you guys, I could never do that again, ever. I don't even know how I did it then. Tanner, fair? Fair. That's my assistant. He knows me real. That ball comes in, and they stop. Like, literally, they stop, and they look at me. And I turn around, and I jog to the midfield, too fast, probably. And I'm whispering to myself, be cool, be cool. Act like you've done that before. And we finished the game out, and I earned the respect of the guys that I was playing with and our new friends, and we were invited to hang with them that evening. There's a lot to unpack there, a lot learned in a few hours' time for me. Let me start by saying, probably especially to this crew, going with a stranger in a foreign country is not something I'm recommending, just to be clear. But let's jump back to our passage that Bethany read for just a moment. And it's a bit wordy for me because my brain doesn't work that way, so I'm gonna try and just simplify a little bit. As far as I can tell, for Jesus, the strongest evidence of his divinity, of his connection with the Father, was how he lived and loved in the day-to-day and the ordinary moments of life. The passage Bethany read was from the Last Supper. Jesus had just told the disciples he's going to die, and where he goes, they can't come. They protest and say, show us the way and we'll follow. Jesus responds, well, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one gets to the Father but through me. Philip, still not understanding Jesus' point, says, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us. At this point, I've long imagined the ever-patient Jesus becoming frustrated with the disciples as he responds to Philip. Don't you get it? The Father and I are one. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Believe me when I tell you we are one. And here it comes. Or at least believe in the miracles themselves. Did you catch that? At least believe in the miracles. It's like you can hear him say, if you don't believe that the Father and I are one because of the way I've loved and mentored you the past 3 years, if the stories I've told don't convince you, if the way I've loved and welcomed the outcasts haven't demonstrated it, if the way I've lived day in and day out haven't convinced you that the Father and I are one, then at least believe in Lazarus walking out of the tomb. For Jesus, the ordinariness of life is where the most powerful evidence for God exists. So back to Northern Ireland. That pickup game illustrates how ordinary can break us through. Sport took people who otherwise hated each other, and most of the young ones for reasons they really didn't even know, and brought them together. It took strangers from 2 different countries and made them friends. It took a man's game and brought a woman into it. The power to break through hate and stereotype and violence, to bring joy and hope is the power of Jesus for me in that moment. The ability to give power to something like pickup soccer. And if you don't believe that, then at least believe in my miracle goal. This may come as a surprise to many of you, given my current vocation, but sports played a huge role in my family upbringing and in my spiritual development. My grandfather was a 2-time All-American quarterback. He was on the same All-American team as John Madden. Yes, Gen Zers, the video game John Madden. My grandfather went on to coach and teach at Cal Poly for 40 years. He was always coaching and teaching. Many ordinary moments in my childhood were turned into teaching moments. We were regularly taught things like hard work, faithfulness, curiosity, and hospitality. So when the extraordinary moments come, and extraordinary is not always positive. For me, like divorce, or moving in with your grandparents, or wondering financially if you're gonna be okay. The habits of the ordinary, the faithfulness of the ordinary, carries you through. That's another reason I believe so much of my spiritual formation comes from sport. And I wanna encourage you, if sport isn't your thing, plug in your thing. There's spiritual formation likely to be found there. So think about this. In sport, I've had to show up when I don't feel like it. I've had to show up when I'm uncertain. I've had to play hard and well, even when I'm uncomfortable. I've gotten to encourage teammates and players. I've had to approach teammates and players when they're not doing their part. I've had to forgive and be forgiven. I've had to extend grace and have grace extended to me. And I have gotten to celebrate a lot. I am practicing my faith in the day-to-day, and it takes me to places of joy and celebration, of deep belief, and it can leave me uncertain, uncomfortable, and asking really big questions. College was where my faith story took an unexpected turn, but unexpected because I had never really been a part of a Christian community. I followed a boy to college, a story for another time, I'm not too proud to say that now, and wound up at a small Christian college similar to Loma. This setup was very foreign to me. Really good education, mixed with high-level sports, and weaved into all of it faith. These were and still prove to be some of the most influential spiritual formation for me. In these years, I met Jesus through people. I met Jesus in and through the ordinary moments of college life. I met Jesus through teammates who pushed and challenged and cared for me, both on and off the field. I met Jesus through mentors and coaches and professors who were experts in their craft and cared for who I was becoming. I met Jesus through roommates and suitemates who kept me connected outside of sport. And eventually, I met Jesus and my now husband, Jeremiah, then crush. I say eventually because that man was slow to move. Tangent here, small college problems. You know when you do the research on the person, at least that's what I was doing, expressing my interest, and he did nothing for 6 months. It was rather embarrassing, but it worked out in the end. Also a story for another time, but don't ask him to tell it. And I met Jesus when I traveled the globe to learn about another culture. While the faith story of my youth and college years is about family and community, my faith story immediately post-college was best summed up by the great theologian, Dr. Seuss. All alone, whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. After graduating a semester early, I was on a flight to Stockholm to play semi-professionally. Somewhere over the Atlantic, I began to cry, like the real cry, like where you're trying to hold it in, but noises are coming out, and people can see, and I was in the back row of the plane, and I was wondering if anybody was gonna show up to pick me up from the airport. I had left my community, a community that had shaped me, a community that had challenged me and grew me and loved me and cared for me. You will be there someday, and some of you might be weeks away from that. And it's hard. And it may not be the last time you leave or lose community. I wish I could tell you how to weather those dark moments, but trust me when I tell you that God is there even in the loneliness. I was offered a contract to head back to Sweden to play another season, but I took a better offer. My husband proposed. There's much I could say about my husband and kids, but for today, I will simply say we do a lot of ordinary days well. The ordinary moments, they add up. Lastly, coaching is a part of my faith story. There's not enough time here to tell you how I've been formed and shaped by the women and coaches that I've worked with. I will say I love coaching, and as I've already stated, I love my team. We try to be a community that's competitive, demanding, hardworking, and a community that loves and cares deeply for one another. Which brings me to my last thought as we circle back around to what Bethany read in John. When the disciples pushed Jesus about where he was going and how they could better see the Father, he told them they had seen the Father in the day-to-day with their life with Jesus. In the way Jesus cared for his disciples, rebuked the Pharisees, welcomed the outcast, the way he taught, the way he modeled prayer and rest, that's when they saw the Father. And if that didn't convince them, if they still couldn't see the evidence of Jesus' divinity in the everyday moments, then at least believe in Lazarus walking out of the grave or the 5,000 being fed. This is my hope for our women's soccer team and our campus at large, that the evidence for our success will be in the richness of the ordinariness of life. When people ask me how my team is successful, I say, well, Lauren, have you seen the way she leads? She is so consistent. And let me tell you about the other day when Bethany was thankful for Courtney for how she cared about my kids. And have you seen Haley celebrate the way others score? Okay, coach, fine, but how are they successful? And I say, oh, well, have you seen how faithful Emma and Fong are to the growth of the program? And how McKenna will sit with you while you struggle through the hard moments? And finally, they'll say, yeah, I get it, but are they successful? And with a smile, I'll say, if you can't see they're successful by the things I've told you, the ways you've watched them care about each other, demand much from each other, and laugh a lot together, then at least believe that we've only lost one conference game in 4 years. At least believe in the awards we've received and the records we've set. At least believe in the miracles. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I'm going to ask a few readers to come up. We in athletics have written a blessing to read over you. This is what we hope for you. Got it. Thanks, George. This is what we hope for you. And at the end of this blessing, I will dismiss you. You'll be free to go. I think we are making great time. Proud of myself there. And preview students, you guys can hang and wait for further instruction. So receive this blessing. Lord, may you enrich their journey here with flourishing growth and depth. May the depth come in their varied friendships and faith and academics and interests.
May what they learn in this place about resiliency carry them through the inevitable ups and downs of life. May you surround them with others who love them, celebrate with them, cry with them, and challenge them. May they not walk alone.
May these young men and women not be overwhelmed by perceived pressures and also understand their limits. May they cherish life's pieces of peace and readily extend your grace to others and to themselves.
May you protect them from the illusion that it's either perfection or complete disaster. May they understand that life is best lived somewhere in the middle.
May they learn to be grateful every day, learn to be more like you, and may they be curious, lifelong learners. May they maintain a quiet spirit.
Lord, may they have lots and lots of fun times. May they laugh often and create meaningful stories that shape who they are becoming. And in who they are becoming, may they consistently chase after the ceiling of their potential.
May they see power in the ordinary.
And Lord, may they live honoring lives that impact their communities in extraordinary ways. And as they go, may they fully accept their unlimited worth in your eyes. Let it be so.
Thank you guys for your time this morning. It was a joy and honor to be with you. Go in peace. Thank you.